What is the Eighth Amendment? Abortion was already illegal in Ireland under the Offences Against the Person Act of 1861. The Eighth Amendment clause was written into the Constitution after a 1983 referendum which sought to recognize the right to life of an unborn child. Essentially, it protects the equal right to life of the mother and the unborn child and prohibits abortion in almost all cases. The amendment reads, "The state acknowledges the right to life of the unborn and, with due regard to the equal right to life of the mother, guarantees in its laws to respect, and, as far as practicable, by its laws to defend and vindicate that right." Yet the upcoming referendum has led to both sides fighting a fierce campaign. What impact has it had in Ireland? In 1992, a teenage rape victim who was suffering from suicidal thoughts was prevented by the courts from terminating her pregnancy in England. The ruling was passed by Ireland's highest court, stating the Eighth Amendment protected the life of the unborn child. However, the Supreme Court overturned the ruling, stating that suicidal thoughts were sufficient grounds to seek an abortion elsewhere. After this case, dubbed the X case, 2 referendums were held and resulted in the Constitution being amended to allow women to travel to other countries to have a termination. Pro-repeal campaigners claim that around 170,000 women have traveled abroad, mostly to Britain, to seek abortions since Getty Vote Yes group Together for Yes is the umbrella group campaigning to repeal the Eighth. What has happened since? The pro-repeal campaign gathered momentum after a dentist, Savita Halappanavar, died in hospital in Galway aged 31 when she was refused an abortion during a miscarriage. Her husband said she had repeatedly asked for it termination, but was refused one as there was still a fetal heartbeat. Health service reviewers later identified failings in her care, and the case led to a legislative amendment which allowed terminations under certain restricted circumstances. This legislation, called the Protection of Life During Pregnancy Act, permitted doctors to carry out an abortion if they felt the mother's life was at risk. However, this has caused uncertainty in the medical community, as doctors face possible prosecution and up to 14 years imprisonment if they wrongfully carry out an abortion. Women continued to travel to Britain in droves to seek terminations. Then, in 2016, the Irish state compensated a woman for the first time for the trauma caused by forcing her to travel to Britain for an abortion. Reuters: the government has already published draft legislation to be introduced if the amendment is repealed. What is happening now? After the 2016 case, the government established a public advisory body, a citizens' assembly, which recommended introduction of unrestricted access to abortion. However, because of the Eighth Amendment, a public referendum before new laws could be passed. Ireland's housing minister set the date for Friday, May 25. The upcoming referendum has led to both sides fighting a fierce campaign. Vote Yes group Together for Yes is the umbrella group campaigning to repeal the Eighth, and are enjoying youth and social media support. Vote No group Save the Eighth in favor of keeping the amendment is receiving most of its support from the Catholic community. The Eighth Amendment clause was written into the Constitution after a 1983 referendum. What will happen if the Eighth is repealed? The government has already published draft legislation to be introduced if the amendment is repealed. This would allow relatively free abortions, subject to consultation with a doctor. A woman would then be able to have an abortion up to 12 weeks after gestation, and up to 24 weeks with restrictions, if a woman's life is threatened or there could be serious harm to her health. Terminations will not be carried out after the fetus becomes viable, following 24 weeks of pregnancy. When will the referendum results be announced? Polling stations will be open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Friday, May 25. Irish voters will need to register themselves before the referendum in order to cast their vote. It is expected that results will start coming in towards Friday night, with the final announcement of results expected in the early hours of Saturday morning.